Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you guys are having another awesome day. Rick coming back at you. And in today's video, what we're going to talk about is a very inexpensive investment you can make right now to help you get the upper hand in your investment journey for the future. But before we get into today's video, if you are into money news, understanding what's going on in the economy, and ultimately just setting yourself up for success to make sure your dollar stretches further for you, this is definitely the channel for you. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell notification, as we are building a community of people that work together to ultimately brainstorm and come up with ways to hit those financial goals that we have. So with that being said, let's talk about this easy investment you can do right now to set yourself up for success. So this investment that I'm going to talk to you about is rather inexpensive.
Free!
We're talking less than a couple $100s and sometimes free in some cases. And now you might be telling yourself, wait, a free investment? That doesn't exist. Actually, it does. However, just because it's free doesn't mean it's easy to come by. It's going to take work, it's going to take discipline, and it's going to take a sense of open-mindedness and understanding. You're going to have to do some things a little bit different than you've been doing them and creating new habits in order for you to see the results of this free investment. And this is something I actually started doing about 8 years ago, but it wasn't until fairly recently that I started seeing results. And the results came once I was taking action on the information that I was learning, because to know and not to do is not to know. So if you read all the books, if you study all of the news coming at you and you learn a new skill, none of that really matters unless you have the discipline to put what you're learning into action and create a new habit. And those new habits have never been more important than what we're seeing in today's economy, because everything that we're seeing is because of the habits that we've not only done ourselves, but also we as a society have created for ourselves that have led to these uncertain times. And so if you haven't pinpointed it yet, this investment is an investment into yourself. Right now, there's a lot of fear in the economy. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people losing jobs, a lot of people not really knowing how to navigate the socioeconomic climate that we find ourselves in. And it's not just hitting people financially, it's hitting people from a mental health standpoint and a physical health as well, as we're attempting to recover from this pandemic and we're moving into a new society and a new culture where we've never been more connected, but with this connection comes a lot of new information. And if you're not prepared for the information, it's going to lead to more uncertainty, fear, and of course, doubt. And when you couple those things together, that's when people tend to freeze up and they're not really sure what to do. And during times like this, the biggest investment you can really make is into your mind and into your brain. Because as you get into these new times, obviously it's uncertain times. You don't know what to expect. Nobody really knows what to expect. This is a time in our history like we've never seen before, with these record inflation numbers, with gas prices like we've never seen before, with ongoing wars, with us still trying to recover from a pandemic. And then ultimately we have other news coming up, from gun violence to new legislation with Roe versus Wade and all of these other things. And what we're seeing is a lot of different opinions coming at us, a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different beliefs. And unfortunately, what that's done is that's put us in a state of fear, uncertainty, and essentially really just a standpoint of not putting ourselves first. And that's really what we should be focusing on. And so I've always heard the phrase that investing in yourself is the best investment that you could potentially make. And right now, there's no doubt that that is probably the most crucial thing we can be investing into, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you're making in your investment journey. If you're not happy and you're living in a reality where you are ultimately filled with sickness, filled with disease, fearing what's happening in the future, doesn't really matter if you have a ton of money. And I think that that's something that we really need to focus on right now, is putting our priorities in a state where we are putting ourselves first and creating more clarity. Because right now, what the world really needs is world needs leaders. The world needs people that are uplifting not only themselves, but other people. And in doing that, there will be rewards at the end of the tunnel, whether it be peace of mind in your life or happiness in your life, or ultimately creating an environment where everything's just working for you. And naturally, if you are living in that environment, your investments will follow suit as well. And you'll come to find out that life becomes a lot better when you have that peace of mind, that happiness, and ultimately just have that, I'm going to make things work out regardless of the situations and circumstances around me. When you have that, you live a lot more peaceful, prosperous, and abundant lifestyle. And so how can you do that? Really, that's up to you. I think right now we live in one of the most advanced societies we've ever lived in. Obviously, YouTube is huge for learning information. Audiobooks, podcasts, regular books. There's something out there for everybody to really learn and put themselves in a state of happiness, pleasure, and ultimately just learning more about themselves, which in turn will help them understand what's going on outside of them even better, and ultimately give them skills that they need to navigate this new world that we're going to find ourselves in. And when you can do that, you really separate yourself from the pack, and ultimately you do become the leader that the world is looking for. And so I wanted to share that with you because I've been doing a lot of internal work recently, because what I've noticed is I've been finding myself falling into this trap of what the heck's going on in the world right now. The world's going crazy. But what I found is when I go internally and I start to focus on myself and I start to put my mental health first, everything else kind of seems to fall into place. My finances fall into place, my relationships fall into place, my happiness falls into place, my vitality falls into place, and then ultimately things just work out for me. And I stop fearing what's going on outside of me, and I start to realize that everything is working out. And more importantly, I have the clarity. And when you have the clarity, you start to see what's going on in the world, and then your investments follow suit with that. You start to see, oh, we're going to start to see an uptick in production in this avenue, or we're going to start to see, as an example, more health companies stepping forward to help us figure out the crisis that we're going through with the pandemic and preventing that in the future. But then also you just understand that there's an ebb and flow in this society that we go through, and during those ebb and flows, that's when you can really reap the rewards of understanding what's going on and help not only yourself, but those around you to become more healthy, more abundant, and ultimately more prosperous, and change the world for the better, because it is possible if you understand that putting yourself first is always the best way to go. I wanted to share that with you, and I know that on this channel we talk a lot about finance news, but I think it's important to understand that if you're not in the right frame of mind, and especially if we have an economy that really we don't know what's going on until the second quarter numbers come out, it might be best for you to just hone in on that mental health and just really focus on yourself right now, so that ultimately as we start to get more clarity of what's going to happen in the future, we can set ourselves up for success and live that happy, abundant, and prosperous life that we ultimately deserve to live. So if you did find value in this video, of course, give it a big thumbs up. And if you are somebody that's interested in finance news, navigating the socioeconomic climate that we find ourselves in, and ultimately setting yourself up for success in the long term, this is the community for you. So you want to make sure that you smash that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.